An open letter to old men in department stores.
An open letter to old men in department stores?
Ah, great. You again.
Why? What could this possibly achieve, people? What could there be in the world today where an open letter to old men in department stores could possibly be needed in this day and age?
Wow. All that from one line of dialogue? Holy crap. Let's remind everyone who this guy is for those who forgot. He made a similar video in response to a very small channel that I responded to last year. Charming Man 93 has been bitter ever since, and ran with Bearing's false allegations about who doxed him. Well, now it's time for round 2.
Dear old men in department stores, stop hitting on me.
Wait, all old men? So married old men? Asexual old men? Old men who simply don't care about sex anymore because their drive has diminished due to old age? Gay old men? Bisexual men who prefer males? Can you be a bit more specific, please?
What was the point of all this? Do you just like to hear yourself talk?
And the fact of the matter is, you can't stop these guys from apparently hitting on you. And by the way, just to ask this question, because everyone needs to ask this, are they actually hitting on you? Or are you perceiving them to be hitting on you? Like, they could just be saying, hello dear, how are you? Nice day, isn't it? What are you looking for? You know, trying to drum up a conversation, because back in the old days, people used to talk to each other. Just wondering, maybe there's a slight generational difference here, and what he perceives as chatting to a person, you perceive as hitting on.
Wow. Only a couple lines into the video, and Mitch has already decided to play defense attorney for these creepy old men. Because you know, it's always good to be hyper-skeptical. Except of course when it comes to internet drama, with no evidence that incriminates people he doesn't like. Listen and believe, right?
Just because a woman happens to work in the public space that you're currently inhabiting, doesn't mean you have a free pass to comment on her appearance.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's a public space, and there's nothing stopping him from saying, you look very nice today, my pretty, how are you? You really don't have the right to tell him not to say that, because it's a public space, as you said, so he does have the right to say that. Whatever country you live in's free speech laws protect that.
And she's using her free speech to ask them to stop. And if you pay attention to the context, it's not just kind comments, but outright catcalling. Which in your world doesn't exist, I'm sure.
And look, if these guys really are causing you issues, which I doubt they actually are, why don't you just get the security to give them a word? Or your supervisor. Come on, it's not hard, rather than, you know, be passive aggressive and create some stupid open letter on YouTube.
Someone's never worked in retail before. It doesn't work like that. It might in the UK, but here in the US, there's an idea of the customer is always right. Not surprised you're being hyper-skeptical, of course. I bet if we swap the genders, you'd either be very sympathetic or wouldn't respond.
Especially when she's 30 years younger than you are and you're with your preteen daughter.
This is showing your age. You're probably not even 20 yet. You must be in your late teens. Because now you're talking about middle-aged men, not old men. Because when I think of old, I think roughly late 60s, although even that is pushing it, to 70s or 80s. And by the time you're in your 80s, I don't think you're really going to be hitting on many women. As I said before, your libido diminishes as you get older. At least if you're a man. And I highly doubt the validity of your life experience at this point, because why the hell would you hit on someone in front of your teenage daughter? Why? That's not a good thing for them to see, especially as how these guys react when boys do it to them. But see, this is why I think it's bullshit, people. They're not hitting on her. They're probably just being normal human beings, and she's a brainwashed feminist, and she thinks they're hitting on her. Potential rapists, because you know, all men are potential rapists, remember? Even fathers.
Someone loves his conspiracy theories. What you said has no bearing on anything. Men in their 40s and 50s leering at teenage girls or young women in their early 20s is weird. And actually, leering at women in general is not something that should be done.
It's gross, and you're creepy.
Shock horror! A man talking to a woman is creepy. Who'd have thunk it?
Wow. Mitch has gone into full victim mode here. The poor men are always so oppressed. Women are always mean to men. But I'm such a nice guy. Feminazis stole my ice cream.
The only reason you find it creepy is because these guys are unattracted to you and they're older than you. That's why you find it creepy. They might not actually be hitting on you. They might actually be asking for advice, like, where's the women's section? Where's the men's section? Or where can I find jeans for my daughter who's a specific height and weight and all sorts of stuff that most shops don't seem to stock the thing that she needs? Maybe they're just being—
For the love of God, do you ever shut up? I can't take any more of this. There's a reason why I call this guy a diet version of Teal Deer. Much like Teal Deer, his videos are tediously boring to the point where I'm basically falling asleep from this guy's rambling. I'm sorry, but I can't respond to this video anymore. So until next time.
An open response to a feminist bitch with an axe to grind that's obviously got nothing to do with the fact that she works in a department store.
I can't win, can I? Because my choices are either fall asleep from Charming Man 93's boredom, or go brain dead from a dumbass with a beak, who can't tell the difference between a parody character by Shoe-on-Head and an actual feminist because his head is buried so far up his ass.
Dear old men in department stores.
That's an imaginative way to begin. Let's just hope the rest of your open letter that isn't actually a letter at all is equally as interesting.
Well, it looks like I'll be responding to this idiot who's ruined the coolness factor of plague doctors for everyone whose IQ is higher than the temperature of liquid nitrogen. So, let's see what kinds of amazing, thought-provoking counter-arguments this rational, logical skeptic has to offer.
Stop hitting on me. Just because a woman happens to work in the public space that you're currently inhabiting doesn't mean you have a free pass to comment on her appearance.
So you think any comment on your appearance is someone hitting on you? So if an old man were to say, "Where's your name tag? I'd like to report you to your manager for being a rude, presumptuous bitch," he's hitting on you.
Because you think it's your right to go up to every woman and flirt with her, and she's supposed to like it? Is that it? Although, judging by your maturity level, you're not an old man, just a weird young man who spends too much time on YouTube. After all, this is the same guy who calls 13-year-old girls sweet cheeks and asks how much they're for sale for. What does it say about your community that you've accumulated over 70,000 subscribers? Just talk out of your ass and become famous?
Especially when she's 30 years younger than you are and you're with your preteen daughter. It's gross, and you're creepy.
I'd find this whole you finding it creepy thing more convincing if you didn't have that 2-foot grin on your face while you're saying it. I think there's a big difference that feminism has blinded you to between friendly and flirting. You don't seem like the type of girl I'd flirt with. I mean, you're kind of easy on the eye, I guess, but you look like the kind of girl you'd date for a month or so and then get stalked by for years.
Jessie has specifically said that these old men were grabbing her arm and leering at her. You and I both know that that smile was ironic, you disingenuous piece of shit. You sound like the kind of guy who becomes interested in a girl and stalks her for years after she rejects him.
I really wish you would all stop assuming that if a woman's nice to you, she's like encouraging your romantic or sexual advances.
You wish we'd stop assuming that? Well, I wish you'd stop assuming that all older gentlemen are romantically interested in you. You see how this generalization thing works? Besides, at this point, I'm pretty sure you've gotten to the stage of feminism where your vagina has grown teeth.
Satiritician sounds like a former nice guy who thinks all women are assholes because some girl saw right through his facade.
It's 10 a.m. and we're standing in the curtain aisle. I'm not flirting with you.
Who buys curtains at 10 a.m? Anyway, I'm pretty sure anything that a man says or does you'd consider flirting. You strike me as remarkably full of yourself, and frankly could do with being taken down a few pegs.
Spoken like a person who has never worked in retail a day in his life, and revealing his true self as a bitter, angry, lonely man who hates any woman who isn't constantly seeking male approval. Imagine, a woman who doesn't need male approval for everything. Shock! Horror!
And before you try to insist that it's just a compliment and you're just trying to be nice,
Compliments like, a uniform, you must work here, or, excuse me madam, might I inquire about these curtains? I don't know, she does likely get some more lewd comments, but this is a remarkably under-detailed open letter.
I bet you catcall women all the time, and wolf whistle at them while just claiming you are being polite. Oh no, I wasn't catcalling her. I never said those things she said I said. Yep, I could see it happening. Who writes your scripts? Do you hire a bunch of monkeys to type on typewriters and go with whatever comes up with? Nah, I doubt it. The monkeys on typewriters would actually be a massive improvement over this tripe.
please hear me when I tell you that it doesn't make me feel good about myself when you look me up and down and ask if I'm happily married.
Well, putting myself in their shoes, I'd be looking up and down at you in disdain and disgust, wondering exactly who'd marry you and how happy you could be in that marriage. So the question would more likely be for the benefit of the poor bastard you've captured, rather than inquiring about your availability.
Considering this is the same guy who told a 13-year-old girl that she doesn't have the face of someone who would get catcalled, I would take anything he says with a salt mine's worth of salt. I have to wonder who finds his comments funny. Because they're not funny. They're not just unfunny, they're anti-funny. As in, they're so unfunny that they destroy the funny in anything actually funny that happens to be within the vicinity. Like antimatter destroying matter. How does this guy have over 70,000 subscribers again? But then again, Daddy05 has over 750,000 subscribers, so it only proves that there are a lot of people in this world who enjoy watching garbage.
But that wasn't really the purpose of the comment, was it? I'm at work, which means I'm all but contractually obligated to appease you.
No, I imagine the purpose of the question was to strike up a light-hearted conversation with somebody who's contractually obliged to appease me. You see, when I go shopping, I'm a nice guy.
You mean a nice guy? That sounds like something a nice guy would say. No, people who work in retail aren't contractually obligated to be your best friend, or be interested in whatever you have to say. They're only there to help you find what you need and make you feel valued as a customer. Pretending to be interested in what you have to say may be part of the job. But one of the big complaints from retail workers is idiots like yourself who want to use them as sounding boards, or from creepy customers who flirt with them. It's okay to think a girl's pretty. Just don't act like a douche about it. A concept that seems to be completely foreign to both you and Teal Deer over there.
I've worked in shops. I know what it's like when you get shit customers, and I know what it's like to have nice customers. The kind of customers who actually give a shit and tell you to have a nice day. So perhaps that's the purpose of you being asked if you're happily married. Rather than suggesting, oh dear, you're having marital problems, let's go behind one of these curtains and have crazy department store sex.
It's both hilarious and sad how Beakman is reaching for some kind of connection between a customer being friendly and a man asking if a woman in her early 20s is happily married. Is this the kind of shit that passes for rational skepticism and intellectual rigor in the community? This is a prime example of why we on the social justice side have turned logic and rational into a joke to mock you with. Start acting like an adult who can actually formulate a rational thought and we'll stop.
And you know that. You hit on me because you know that I can't outright reject you. And that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, nothing makes me feel better than talking to some bitter feminist convinced all I want is sex in the curtain aisle at 10 AM. And knowing that she can't outright reject me, or by the same token, accept the offer. Nothing like idle conversation being mistaken for sexual harassment.
Where did you come up with, all I want is sex? Methinks thou doth protest too much.
You're like those hunters who clip the bird's wings and then hold up what they've caught as if it's some sort of accomplishment. But I'm not a bird.
Actually, in the English vernacular, you are a bird. It's synonymous with girl, I guess. And it's a hell of a comparison to compare these men buying curtains to literal predators and hunters that go out and hunt birds. That seems mildly extreme for someone even of your caliber of feminist crazy.
What's with the men buying curtains you keep coming back to? Is that your way of trapping these women into forced conversation so they have to endure your weird advances? Oh, but I guess wanting to be treated with respect is a crazy feminist idea, you ignorant shit for brains. Good job, Beakman. Your video is so bad, I'm quoting undoomed insults.
And the absence of my vitriol doesn't mean you've won me. I didn't ask for your opinion on my face because I don't want it.
Okay, good, because my opinion of your face would hardly be glowing. You see, I regard personality just as important as physical appearance, and right now, with your attitude, you're about as attractive as Angela Merkel.
I bet if she was an anti-feminist woman, you'd be slobbering all over her, begging her to marry you, like the pathetic insults you see in the comment sections of every anti-feminist female's video, who go on about how male feminists are white knights only caring about women's rights in order to get laid, while doing the exact same practices you accuse male feminists of. You're just another boring generic carbon copy of Undoomed and Bearing, who think childish insults are refutations.
The only reason why I smile and say thank you when you needlessly comment on my appearance is because if I said what I was actually thinking, I'd probably get fired.
You'd probably get fired if your employers saw this video and saw what an attitude-ridden cunt you really are. It's extremely lucky for you that we don't stoop to the level of feminists and SJWs and scope for people's jobs when they hold opinions we disagree with.
If you ever worked for a minute in retail, then you know her employers would sympathize with her, you lying sack of festering shit. And did you really just say you don't try to ruin people's lives? How about when Bearing accused people of doxing him, and you brainless idiots decide to listen and believe? But I guess it's only good to be hyper-skeptical of rape accusations by women, because in your mind, women are all liars. And Bearing didn't give a shit that his fans are doing all they can to try to get Christy Winters to lose her job, simply for the crime of being a feminist who refuses to back down against his army of mouth breathers who never leave their parents' basements. You always go on about how much you love free speech, but you proved you only care about your own free speech.
Bottom line, I have a name, and it's not beautiful, sweetheart, or good looking. Maybe next time, try looking at my fucking name tag.
Why do I get the feeling that if I look at your name tag, you're going to bitch and moan that I'm staring at your tits where your name tag happens to be?
Maybe because you actually stare at women's chests and claim you were just looking at her name tag?
Well, this was an extremely crude open letter, and as such, hopefully an even more crude response. But my advice would be, if you find yourself in the department store and see this woman working, I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for in a different store, far, far away from this feminazi nutcase.
What was the point of this video? To bitch and whine about the fact that a woman doesn't want creepy men being creepy? Go take that shit back to the Red Pill subreddit, where other nice guys can tell you how women are the devil and men are always the victims. Your whole video was you playing the victim over how women are so mean to men for not being grateful for your lewd comments. I suspect you think that 13-year-old girl should have been grateful when you asked her how much she costs. But why should I expect any better from you? Because it's just what you Manaspherians do. It's like a monkey flinging shit at people. It's just what you do. Hence why so many of you have monkey avatars. Bottom line, both of these video responses to Jesse were painful. Charming Man 93 is because of his tedious, droning, rambling style, where he can't make a point without 20 minutes of fluff. And the Satiriticians because of his pandering to the absolute bottom of the barrel of the anti-SJW community. Even Shoe on Head and Armored Skeptic understand what a problem guys like the Satiritician are to the community. That they're the reason Rational Skeptic is used mockingly. Until next time, I'm Danny Quartz. And I need a vacation.